This is Daily Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
You all ready for this?
This is a sham.
No. Y'all, just stop.
Get real.
Welcome to DBL. It is lovely to see all these faces again.
Yes.
Very good to see you all out there. Even though I can't see, I know you're beautiful out there. All right, we are going to just start with something very scary. People are already writing us in. Thank you, Brandy, for writing this in. Last night, during Monday Night Football, I'm sure you've seen this, Buffalo Bills player Damar Hamlin, who is just 24 years old, was tackling another player in the very first quarter when he took a hit to the chest. But after he briefly got up following the tackle, he then ended up collapsing on the field. Now, doctors rushed in to assist, and players gathered around to block the cameras as they did administer CPR for close to 10 minutes. Now, while the whole thing was happening, players were visibly upset. The Buffalo Bills team gathered in a circle praying for him. The NFL ended up postponing the game entirely. Hamlin was removed from the field in an ambulance, and the Bills released a statement saying Hamlin suffered a cardiac arrest following a hit. His heartbeat was restored on the field, and he was transferred to the UC Medical Center for further testing and treatment. Now, he is currently sedated and listed in critical condition. That's the latest as of this time of our taping. So for more of this, we are joined by our Dr. Coley. Thank you so much for being here, who is, of course, a cardiologist, amongst other things. And Doc, we just want to talk to you about this.
We need you today.
Yeah.
I needed you last night. Jeff, I'm assuming you're watching the game. And Tori, were you watching as well? You know, I had stepped out of the room for a moment, and I came back and I was watching the game with my friend, and their face just looked strange, and I was like, what's going on? And they said somebody got hurt, but it was in this weird way. And when I looked at the television, you see people get hurt a lot, unfortunately, especially in this game. But you could just tell that the energy was different. You could tell the way that they were surrounding, so they didn't want people to see. And I think we all, fans and just everybody, players, want to know, how does this happen to a 24-year-old that is in the best shape of probably the 1% on this planet? This is something that should not happen. So, Doc, how does this happen on a hit that looked relatively routine for an NFL play?
You know, I've seen hundreds of cardiac arrests in my career as a cardiologist, but every time I see one, it makes me stop in my tracks because it really reminds us the fragility of life.
Yeah.
And as you said, Al, this is someone seemingly healthy. So my first question as a cardiologist is, did he have any underlying structural heart disease? Sometimes athletes have genetic cardiomyopathies or genetic conditions that can affect the electricity in their heart. But even in the absence of having that, a perfectly healthy person that gets trauma to the chest can have a condition called commotio cordis. Now, this was usually described in sports like baseball or lacrosse, where there's something round and hard that can hit you right in the chest. And essentially what happens when our electricity is beating, our heartbeat has electricity, right? So it triggers, and then it resets itself, and then it triggers again. But during that period when the heart is resetting itself is a vulnerable period. So if you get a trauma or you get another electrical beat happening during that period, it can just send the electricity haywire, basically blow a fuse in our heart's electrical system. And if you see what happened with him, he stood up for about 3 seconds, which means his brain was still getting blood from the prior heartbeat, but the minute that heart stopped,
He went down.
he stopped.
Oh, my gosh.
So, Dr. Coley, doctors reportedly perform CPR for close to 10 minutes. Is that a long time for someone suffering cardiac arrest? And what does it mean for his recovery?
Not really. In fact, I mean, in the hospital, if you have a cardiac arrest, the average time that you're usually down before you restore a rhythm is about 12 minutes. And so essentially what they're doing is the CPR is beating for you. It is your heart while your heart is stopped. So it has to be high quality CPR because it has to circulate blood to your organs. But meanwhile, the doctors and medical team are actually administering medications. Sometimes they actually give a defibrillation, which is a shock to the heart, almost like restarting your computer.
And I think we are confirmed that he did have a defibrillator on the field as well, I think.
So that tells us that he had a cardiac arrhythmia. Now, many things can cause a heart to stop, like, you know, bleeding out, a blood clot, you know, a tear in the aorta, something like that. But in his case, if he was defibrillated, then that suggests to us that he had an electrical problem with the heart. So while they're getting all the medicine circulating, 10 minutes is not all that long. Now, usually they say if you're down for more more than 20 minutes, then you can have problems with neurological recovery. Because even though we got his heart restarted, how's his brain doing? Is he going to be able to wake up? And those are the critical questions.
That was my concern.
So sorry for taking that question. I didn't realize we had that as the next one. Hamlin had a GoFundMe fundraiser that was an online toy drive. That GoFundMe has now reached over $4 million. And we just want to know what you all on the panel think here of the reactions to this tragedy and then NFL's decision specifically to postpone the game. Jeff, what did you think when you saw it? How did you feel? Talk to us.
Well, having played football my whole life, I was sick, right? It wasn't like, should they keep playing? It was immediately, they got to stop this till they find out what happened.
Could you tell something was wrong initially?
No, man, no, I couldn't. I was kind of getting ready. I was doing something in the bathroom, and I saw him hit, and I saw him go down, and then I kind of peeked over. I'm like, he's still down? And then I saw the reactions just as you did, and the announcers kind of going through it, and I was like, something's seriously wrong here, right? And you kind of take that for granted. You play football, and Ryan Clark said something the best this morning, and I'm sure a lot of you listened to that, but he said something that touched me. He's like, we got to get rid of this vernacular of like, I'm going to go out there, I'm going to die for this game. Or I'm going to go out there, I'm going to kill that guy. Or whatever this cause is, I'm ready to die for. We need to stop talking like that because you're not going to die for that. When you saw that player, it put you into perspective like, I'm not willing to die over this. It's a game. And all these fights that we have on Twitter, I'm not willing to die over your cause. Let's put things back in perspective. We're so dramatic with everything. And when it comes down to it, life is what's important. This man's life was on the line. So was there any question about should you cancel the game? Who cares about what revenue was lost? Absolutely not. I felt sick inside. I felt blessed. And another quick thing, we talked last year about like, should you pray before or after the game? I prayed before and after the game with people that I was quote unquote trying to kill out there because I felt blessed to play this game and not get hurt. And now we're telling people you're not allowed to pray, but you're allowed to say I'm going to kill this person. It's like 2023. I don't mean to get off on a rant right away, but it's like we need to learn how to treat each other and we need to put in perspective what is very important.
Jeff, it's so we have always joked around about how you're Illinois, I'm Ohio. We got separated at birth. I had that exact same thought when everything happened and there were two different prayer circles, and I know for a fact in that moment there were no arguments about should there be prayer on the field. At that point, it kind of shows you, it takes away all the things we argue about because it's kind of like how we kill time on this planet. But when something is really wrong, everybody, I just immediately started thinking about his mom. That was my first thought.
His mom was in the ambulance. His mom was with him.
Yes, his mom was at the game, the guy that hit him, and you just start you don't start thinking about like, what's my political affiliate? Like, you just realize what's important in that moment, and I hope as a person that organized a lot of toy drives and gave gifts, I hope that's another gift that you can give all of us. It's showing us what's important, and everybody is pulling for this young man right now.
I do have to say, I agree. I don't watch SportsCenter, but I watched Scott Van Pelt, Ryan Clark, Troy Aikman, and Joe Buck be honest about how they saw a human being. I was concerned they would start the game again, Erica, and I think people were concerned, and the players and coaches said we are not. What did you think was going to happen sort of in terms of that route?
Well, you never know what's going to happen. I mean, I've never played football, but I had a brother who, I have a brother who played football until the NFL for a very short period of time. So, like, just that feeling when you see your brother or anyone go down on the field, there's always this time where you hold your breath for a second just to be like, all right, is he going to get up? Are they going to shake it off? So my immediate thought was about his family because there were times when we've seen people not get up as fast or at all. So my heart just goes out to his family. This is not a football issue, in my opinion. It's about a humanity issue, and what I saw last night for the first time in a long time, and maybe it was a part of the holiday spirit, were a lot of people coming together to offer words of encouragement. There wasn't a lot of vitriol. Some people may have misspoke or said the wrong thing in the moment, but ultimately the true message was we're rooting and praying for this man and his family.
Doc, real quick while we have you, only have like 30 seconds left. Was there something to prevent this? Because I know I go through physicals my whole life. Or is this a freak accident?
So screening is a real controversial topic. Should we screen athletes? Because if they have something structurally wrong with their heart or electrical problem, they're set up. They're set up because their stress hormones are high, their electrolytes are messed up when they're playing. So it would be hard to know in his particular case. If it was commotio cordis, there's no way to prevent that. Any of us could have that sitting here, actually. It doesn't even have to be trauma to the chest. It could just be a startle. If somebody startles you at the wrong time in your heartbeat, you can have a cardiac arrest. So you guys know what I'm going to say. Every single one of us needs to know how to do CPR.
Yeah.
Because that high-quality CPR may have been the difference between life and death. Otherwise, there's a 90% fatality if you arrest outside of the hospital.
And we know people in the studio that have been dealing with that with family members. I just want to say to the medical team, thank God you were there. He was in the best place within seconds receiving that quality CPR, and we wish the Hamlin family all the best. Dr. Coley, thank you so much for being here and answering all of our questions. If you have a question for us, don't be scared, write us. You can also follow Dr. Coley on Twitter at PyleColeyMD. We could read your question on air. Thanks again, Doc. We appreciate that, and thank you all for writing in. We are going to keep you updated. Coming up on DBL, our interview with the very funny Howie Mandel. He's telling us all about America's Got Talent All-Stars and remembering TV icon Barbara Walters. We're talking about the amazing legacy she's left behind. Coming up next. It's a new year and DBL is all the talk.
Let's get it going.
We had a lot to talk about last year.
I'm flexing every day.
And we're not stopping in 2023.
I'll see you guys on the flip side.
We're live. Hey guys, so everyone's writing in. Erica's hair looks pretty, obviously.
Say anything about me?
Someone wrote in sensitivity training, very rare for an ambulance to come on the field like that. I was watching because I am dealing with medical. So I zoomed in. Are we on? Or are we not on?
Oh, and I think I need to blow my cord.
Oh, we're back on?
Ira? Are we back? Where is it? Can you grab the air for Al?
She's special. It's not the end of the world.
I think we're just black and... Are we back? We're back. Okay, cool. I was watching and I zoomed in, Al, and right away at the very beginning, I zoomed in and his legs were open, obviously unconscious, but the hands were already in the CPR position, like immediately, and that's what you need to get the heart start pumping
It's
again.
so interesting that they
It was
knew that
so
early.
fast. They trained for it. So I don't know if you guys remember this one guy who got paralyzed and he got on the field hypothermic so that they could freeze.
He played for the Bills, actually. He went to the University
It was
of Miami.
the Bills?
Yes.
Now, so
It
their
happened.
training
It
is
was
fantastic.
It was a kickoff, and it was one of the reasons why they kicked the ball off 5 yards further than they used to, 5 yards close to the end zone, so they have more touchbacks because they realized that they were having a lot of injuries.
And they had trained
grown
over
men
and over.
running full speed at each other.
Right.
Thank
So
you,
in
brother.
soccer, you see this with the cardiac arrest. In baseball, recently in soccer, a Denmark player received CPR on the field, and we all saw, and we were really terrified. But they're trained. So someone goes into cardiac arrest, they know what to do. Thank God, because otherwise, it takes minutes for people to like freak out, calm down. Someone call 911. So again,
I think that's why we see it a lot of times in high school. Sometimes those guys don't make it because their staff
they're
is
just
like
so
15-year-olds.
frazzled. Yeah, right. Welcome back. As you may have heard over the weekend, legendary journalist Barbara Walters passed away. According to her spokesperson, Barbara passed away peacefully in her home, surrounded by loved ones. She was 93 years old. And as you know, Barbara broke many glass ceilings in her career. She became the very first woman to co-host The Today Show. Then in 1976 at ABC, the first woman to co-host The Evening News. Barbara also interviewed world leaders from Yasser Arafat to Margaret Thatcher and every U.S. president since President Nixon. She also co-anchored 2020 with Hugh Downs and became well known for her highly rated Barbara Walters specials. Now, Oprah posted a picture of the two, writing that without Barbara Walters, there wouldn't have been me, nor any other woman you see on Evening, Morning, and Daily News. She was indeed a trailblazer. In fact, on Barbara's last day on The View in 2014, Oprah brought out 25 female broadcasters from Maria Shriver to Diane Sawyer. They were all influenced by Barbara. Erica, I go to you to ask you, women, journalism, Barbara Walters, how do you feel about her legacy?
You know, it's interesting because I know more about Barbara Walters through Oprah than I know about, honestly, I'm being very serious, because I grew up like looking for women who looked like me.
Sure.
And Oprah really was very transparent about what Barbara did for women in media, and how she wanted to emulate her so much. That was really my introduction to Barbara Walters. So, I mean, obviously, for the amount of respect that I have for an Oprah, and understanding that I wouldn't be here without her, and Oprah wouldn't have been Oprah without Barbara, of course I bow down to Barbara.
Yeah, respect.
And, you know, yes, of course.
Yeah, respect. What do you think, Al?
That's what I take a lot from that show, Hacks. It's on HBO.
I love that show.
Is they show what the first people through the door had to deal with. We live in a world now where if a young woman, anybody's like, I want to get in stand-up, people are like, great, there's the open mic. I don't think people understand that 50 years ago, that would have been, your husband might have divorced you. Like that was not an option on the table for a woman to tell jokes or to dare try to read a prompter or interview a man. Come on. So the idea that that is laughable now is because of people like Barbara Walters. And so I just hope when we remember her and we'll go through her career, I hope everybody watching understands what the first pioneers, whether you were the first black player to play in college or the first woman to be on a news broadcast, what they had to deal with to get there, because it was not all pleasant, Jeff.
What did it mean to you, Tori?
First of all, I appreciate that, because what she was just hit over and over again. What she means to me is this. You guys know when something kind of confrontational happens on this panel, I break a lot of paper clips because I get really nervous, okay? She asked the questions, the hard ones, the ones to like Sean Connery. So you hit women. Talk to me about that. Like, it was like insane. So when I think of buck up, Tori, have some courage, it's a dose of Barbara Walters.
I love that.
Next time you do something like that, I'm gonna say Barbara Walters.
I know, no more paper clips.
It might happen by the end of the show. Who knows?
Seriously, coming up on DBL, we are switching gears with Howie Mandel, and yep, he sat in a clamshell.
As you do.
During our interview. You don't want to miss it. He came out of his shell. Coming up next.
That was good.
Thanks.
You might walk past one of these every single day and know nothing about it. Let's change that. An AED, an automated external defibrillator, is credited with helping restart Damar Hamlin's heart after his on-field collapse. We turned to several sources to learn the fast facts and best practices when it comes to AED usage. The FDA says AEDs are designed to treat people experiencing sudden cardiac arrest, and they're most effective when used within minutes of someone's collapse. While some are designed for medical professionals, the ones you'll find in public places like swimming pools, in schools, and in office buildings will be for public use. That means they'll include audio prompt instructions for how to use them, even if you've had no prior training. We checked the laws in D.C., Maryland, and Virginia, all of which have some protection for so-called Good Samaritans, preventing liability for the person who stops to help someone in need. In general, the Red Cross outlines these steps for using an AED on an adult or a child over 55 pounds. Someone should call 911, then turn on the AED and listen for its voice prompts. Attach the pads to the victim's dry, uncovered chest and make sure cables are connected to the machine. As it analyzes the person's pulse, make sure no one is touching them. Shout, "Clear!" before pressing the shock button if the machine prompts you to do so. After that, or if no shock is advised, begin CPR compressions. As a reminder, you don't need to be CPR certified to perform the procedure, but the CDC says you should be educated on how to do it. That includes how to position a person, where to put your hands, and how quickly you should be pumping those chest compressions. We have more specific resources, including local CPR and AED classes, on our website. With your Verify, I'm Abby Larico.
Welcome back to DBL. A little bit ago, AGT judge Howie Mandel stopped by DBL, and he literally came out of his shell to tell us about America's Got Talent All-Stars. Take a look.
Now, before we talk AGT, you did work with a tech company to create a digital twin. Some actors like Harrison Ford are using this technology in film. Why did you create AI Howie, which is a great band's name?
Yeah, because you know that I'm a germaphobe.
Yeah.
So if I could show up someplace without showing up someplace, my job is done. I love this is like just the future. I want to go everywhere and go nowhere.
So it's your
I also work with a hologram company too, like proto hologram. And then because I just want to be at home in this I don't know if you can see that's me. Wow.
Oh, yeah. So that's the fake.
No, well, yeah, because this is the real one inside my little shell at home. This is I don't like to leave this. This is my safe place, like a little clam.
You look like the Matrix that I would want to be in, just a cool Morpheus.
Really? That's how you see me?
You look so cool. You look like you're from the future.
It does look cool.
Oh, I'm from the now.
Yeah.
From the now.
But in the future, the AI is going to be me.
There you go.
It is.
That's very good.
All right. Well, you have such an incredible life. You also posted this insane video of you with a huge snake. You need to talk to our audience about what is going on here, especially for a germaphobe.
Well, that's a problem. That's basically a problem. That's my podcast. I do a podcast called Howie Mandel Does Stuff. This is just some of the stuff that I did. You can check it out wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. I do it with my daughter, and I didn't know this was going to happen.
Whoa.
And I have a bigger problem with humans than I do with reptiles. I don't know that anybody's catching anything from a boa constrictor, but it was a constrictor, and I got tangled.
Whoa.
And it was scary, and that's just some of the stuff that I do, and a lot of the stuff that I do on Howie Mandel Does Stuff is stupid stuff, and that was one of the stupid things.
You look like gave me Britney.
That's the best stuff.
Yeah, didn't he give you Britney vibes?
I could see that.
I remember that video.
I'm Howie. Can I say that?
I'm cutting that, putting it on my reel.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
We look forward to seeing. We look forward to seeing the new season.
I wasn't talking to you. I just feel like now
we know.
Okay.
Okay, we're all looking forward to seeing the new season of AGT All-Stars. It includes acts from AGT around the world and some of the best acts we've seen, honestly. So what are the most challenging thing about judging All-Stars?
That is the most challenging. They are the best of the best. It's like being a judge at the Olympics.
Yeah.
You know, from all over the world, whether it's Asia's Got Talent, Britain's Got Talent, India's Got Talent, all the winners and runners-up show up. And even the people that we know here in America, like Cody Lee and Terry Fader, they come back to compete against each other. This is the highest level of talent that I have seen on one stage. It is just crazy. I don't know that there's any constructive criticism as a judge that I could have given to really help them, except that this is do not miss TV.
That's what I love about AGTV is like obviously there's a lot of shows where talented people are on there, but your guys actually going to be professionals.
Yeah,
you know,
right.
you see the Terry Fader theater when you go to the Mirage.
I think if you go to anybody goes to Las Vegas now, any billboard has some connection in some way. If they didn't win, they came really close and got well known on America's Got Talent. America's Got Talent really, and all the Got Talent stages, really lead to a career.
Yeah.
Well, that was going to be my question for you, brother, because, you know, obviously you were a super famous comic before you started hosting this. But if, you know, go back to like young Howie in today's world, would you go on a show like America's Got Talent to get discovered? Or like, what do you think would be the route to get your skill set out to the world?
I would obviously send my AI.
Yeah, right.
And he would win. He would do fantastic, and I wouldn't have to be there in the room.
There we go.
The best idea.
I wish I had something like this when I was coming up.
We want to give you a big virtual fist bump. Thank you for joining us, Howie. We totally understand why you'd want to stay in the show. We would too. Catch America's Got Talent All-Stars on NBC. We'll be right back. Thank you, Howie.
Always a pleasure, man.
Bye-bye.
Enjoy Maui, bro.
Scented candles are a very popular gift during the holiday season. They smell nice, they set the perfect mood, but there have been several claims online that suggest burning scented candles may be bad for your health. But is that true? Let's verify. Our sources are the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency, the European Candle Association, the National Candle Association, the Research Institute for Fragrance Materials, and toxicologist and chemist Hans Pluge. Nearly all fragrance ingredients in scented candles are volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, according to the National Candle Association. Humans are regularly exposed to VOCs in nature, but the Environmental Protection Agency says VOCs present more of a concern when they're present indoors. When scented candles burn, they release VOCs and other particles into the air. But according to our sources, the amount of VOCs released by burning scented candles is too small to be harmful to your health. To ensure the fragrance in a scented candle is, quote, considered safe for human use, and for it to end up on a store shelf, it has to meet the safety standards set by the International Fragrance Association. According to the NCA, quote, each ingredient in the fragrance and the finished product is required to meet the specifications set down by the IFRA to be compliant with the standard, unquote. But we're not just looking at candle and fragrance industry data. According to the 2014 peer-reviewed study of the potential consumer health risks associated with candle emissions, quote, under normal conditions of use, scented candles do not pose known health risks to the consumer, unquote. Toxicologist Hans Pluge has studied the risk of exposure to harmful chemicals for 40 years.
Some of these chemicals are indeed rated as hazardous, but they're generally released in extremely tiny quantities, so they're not very risky.
So we can verify, no, burning scented candles is not bad for your health. And thank the Lord, because I did not feel like throwing away all of those candles. With your Verify, I'm Adiande Till.
2 in 3 inmates in state and federal prisons do more than just serve time behind bars. They also work, according to a report by the American Civil Liberties Union. Verify viewer Deb recently emailed us to ask if that work still includes making license plates. So Deb, let's verify. Our sources are the American Association of Motor Vehicle Administrators, corrections departments and prison industries programs in several states, and Jennifer Turner with the ACLU. For more than a century, federal and state governments have used prisoners for their labor. In 1918, Michigan began one of the first programs to have inmates make license plates, and the concept took off during the Great Depression. These days, our sources estimate that inmates make license plates in half to 2/3 of states, including California, where prisoners make more than 2 million plates a year. In some states, they even do a lot more for the DMV.
Incarcerated workers also respond to DMV calls for a number of these states. They produce and manufacture other equipment as well.
So, yes, incarcerated people make license plates. The program isn't without controversy. The ACLU says most workers typically make less than $1 an hour and may have their pay docked to cover outstanding court fines. Still, corrections officials generally tout these programs because they provide work experience that inmates can use once they're released. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
Welcome back. We love sharing your comments. So Tiara, thanks for writing in. She wrote, Barbara Walters and Betty White seemed like they would live forever, and they both passed on New Year's Eve 1 year apart.
I didn't even put that together.
I didn't either.
Me neither.
That's incredible.
2 icons.
And like the start of a whole, that's amazing. Sean also wrote, Barbara's interviews were some of the best. I remember she had the Kardashians on when they were just starting. Remember this? She goes, none of you have any talent. She goes, you don't sing, you don't dance, you don't act. What are you famous for? And I think a lot of people have that question.
Yeah.
We will miss you, Barbara Walters. DBL is new every day. We'll see you same time, same place tomorrow. Bye, guys.